But now let's come back to the studio and have a different conversation away from the extractive industry. Time now to switch gears and talk about the real estate sector in this country. It has gone through tops and downs in the last couple of years, and it's also likely to go through another phase of difficulties because of the electioneering period. Joining us in the studio this morning actually is George Mburu. He's the CEO of Misizi Limited, and he knows a thing or two about the real estate industry, not here in Kenya but around the world. Thank you very much indeed, George, for joining us. I mean, it is proper to say that first of all, how would you describe the state of the real estate industry in Kenya?
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. And the state that we are currently in, I can say that we are growing. We have at least started growing, and there's room for more growth. We have started, and this has also been given a boost, an arm injection in the arm, by the fact that affordable housing is one of the big four agendas in the Jubilee administration. We have affordable housing being one of the big four agendas. You can imagine that is a big boost, and this is a boost that has actually even attracted even the international communities to talk about affordable housing being an agenda as a country, and that is where now we have the real estate sector. So it is a good conversation that we have started, and moving forward there is so much room for growth. And this is going to have ripple effect not only in the players that are playing in the real estate sector, but even in the entire economy. Real estate sector and affordable housing has such a big role to play when it comes to the growth of our economy. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Look, I mean, in the last 10 years, let's first of all analyze the market and see how you've been faring. The market has been going through a very rough patch since the year 2016, because we got into another political mode, sure. And you know, all the way up to 2018, there was a lot of wait and see, especially from the investors and of course people who wanted to invest in the industry, because of too much political noise in that period. Then the handshake came in, and there was a period of lull. Then COVID happened in 2020, and that was a wasted year. 2021 we were recovering. 2022 now we've gotten into politics, which are proving to be noisy and messy. You know, at some point. So what has this done to the real estate industry in Kenya?
Thank you very much. You'll note that the biggest problem we have as a country is this five-year politics. It's a good thing, because at the end of the day we need to elect. We as the people, we need to have the power to elect the people we feel should be representing us. It's a good thing, but also we need to appreciate that it should not be so polarized such that every 5 years investors are scared. Every 5 years, investors are wondering, do we get into that country? What will happen after five years? And the good thing is that including politicians, including everybody is a business person, even a farmer, because at the end of the day, you are farming to sell that produce. So we need to appreciate the fact that all of us, in one way or another, we are business people, and that includes the politicians. And politicians are our leaders, people who we elect so that they can represent our interests. What we need to do now as a country is to ensure that this issue of politics is not interfering with our day-to-day running of our economy. Every person, including the politicians, we need to appreciate the fact that we need a stable country, and we need to have continuity. 5-year elections comes after 5 years, and this is something that is a one-day event. Yes, it has an impact because the people we represent also, it represents what they are going to put there as our interest. But again, we do not need to make it something that is so polarizing the country, such that investors and everybody, we are getting to that time of election, and there is a hula baloo what is going to happen. There is that uncertainty certainty. We need to get rid of uncertainty that comes with the election after every 5 years, and this is a fact that even our politicians appreciate. And we as the people, because we are the people who have the power, and the constitution of our current constitution gives us as the people the power, and we have that power. It is high time that we have conversations. People who are polarizing the country, people who are, yes, they are our leaders, but they are working against the stability of our country. They are working against having a conducive working environment for our country. It is high time that we give them the red card. We are the people. It's only that people do not understand the power that they have. But if we can be having a conversation as a people, whereby somebody who is destabilizing the country or is not giving us a conducive environment, we give them a red card even before they get to the ballot. I think there we would be moving somewhere. Then we have issues like the Vision 2030. These are things that we need to be talking more, and they need to be well taught, to be understood by everybody. What is Vision 2030? What are we talking about? Because you find some of these things they are things that very few understand. It has a few elite people who understands what is exactly Vision 2030, and I have a feeling, and I believe the people who are coming up with the Big Four agenda, they highly borrowed from the Vision 2030. That is where we want our country to go. So we need to disseminate this information, and it's good. I'm happy like you are inviting people like us, Mizizi Africa Homes Limited, to come and have this discussion. Yeah, because we need something like Vision 2030. We need to clearly understand. Yes, we are saying we need to be a middle income earner as a country. What does that mean? What does it entail? It entails us to have a stable country, a country whereby we can be able to attract investors. And you know that countries that are in turmoil, their resources are taken away by force or because of that civil wars and such instabilities. But if we have stabilities, we'll be able to get value for what we have, our resources.
You see, I mean, from around the year 2005, 2007, thereabout, I mean, when you look at the real estate industry in Kenya, you know, was growing at an average rate of 15-18%. Then, you know, things somehow cooled down at around 2012. We started seeing, you know, growth slowing, and now we are talking about a growth rate, an average of about 9 to 10%. Do you see the industry going back to the super growth era of 2007, 2006, thereabout?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. It is very possible to go back to the growth trajectory that we were at, and it is very possible. The thing that the Corona period was a period of learning, and we learned that for sure even the government needs us as the people. We need the government, we need each other. You remember that when Corona came, when that period, people were not even coming out of their homes, and whereby if somebody coughs, people are running away. Things have been destabilized. The way things were known previously, things have been destabilized. Now the digital world has become very vibrant because of that period. Now what we need to do is to take the lessons that we have learned with Corona, and we have learned that for sure the world has become a global village. There's a time that you talking to somebody who is in America was something that was so difficult. It was not that easy. Somebody traveling to any part of the country, it was not easy. And now with the way the things were closed, it was a time to reflect, to learn, and if we can take the lessons we have learned, the most important thing for starters is the government, and to be specific, the politicians. They are there to serve us. The first thing is that they are there to serve us, our interest as the people. So the first thing we need to do is to ensure that we are the politics, we are having people who actually can be able to represent our interests.
So we need to sort out our politics first.
Politics, that is one thing. We need, secondly, to have a conducive environment. Then from there, we need now to start engaging other partners, other foreign investors. We need to open up our borders so that we can have a working environment. We can be able to extend our business. Like, let's say Mzizi Africa Homes Limited, we are able to have a bilateral relationship with, let's say, Uganda, let's say Tanzania, Ethiopia, because these are countries that also they are going through our problem, the same problems. For example, if it is the issue of housing, the issue of housing is something that can be such a big income earner for our country. If that economy is given a boost, and we have policies, we have seen policies that have been set, land policies, we have seen things like the KMRC, whereby people are able to be given refinancing, mortgage refinancing, and such policies. If such a ground is set and people are encouraged, more developers are encouraged to get even into counties and out of the country. For sure, this is a sector that if we concentrate actually with the big four sectors, and we not only give those services here in our country, and we're able to export the same to our neighboring countries. And you know, as a Kenyan, we are blessed by very educated people. We are blessed with technology. Our technology is even actually being bought even in the other continents. Yeah, you know, something like M-Pesa has gone actually to other continents, Europe, America, and all that. So people are borrowing from us what we have. So if we can be able to sell this knowledge we have gotten and the experience we have, like for example, nowadays we are selling even people not selling per se, but we are taking people to other countries to go and
knowledge transfer.
Doctors, knowledge transfer. For one, Kenya, we are blessed with, especially people who are educated. And we can take that advantage to take it also to our neighboring countries who may not be so privileged.
Very well.
And as well extend it to other countries who have the resources, especially money, because like Kenya, we lack that liquidity.
Now, I mean, part of the reason why, you have these challenges, especially in the real estate industry, is because there has also been, the challenge of honesty, the challenge of trust, because you have some players in the industry who have been promising investors so much, but they deliver nothing. We know companies that have gone under with billions owed to investors, and this has somehow created a crisis in the industry. So, as players in this sector, what are you doing to try also and bring some sanity amongst yourselves?
Yeah, thank you very much. And as you have correctly said, in the past there was that people were very afraid, and because actually it started with people remitting money back at home, especially people who are in the diaspora, remitting back money to their relatives, and you find that somebody is sending pictures of a house that belongs to the neighbor. So that issue of dishonesty is something that has really affected people, and more so people who are in the diaspora. And these are people who we have taken there to go and sell their services so that they can come back home, because at the end of the day, east or west, home is best. So it's an injustice for such people to go work so hard their useful life, then come back to retire back at home only to find nothing. You find that those people, they mostly end up being depressed, and it leads to actually a very negative, it is very negative impact. But on the other hand, when we look at the positive side of the coin, if these people's expectations, and even people who are maybe employed, because you find most of the people who are buying these houses, and especially off-plan, because it is one thing that has really been hit, you find that these people, they are working, they are busy, like yourselves, they are giving somebody, trusting somebody, and because people used to trust their relatives, but now we have, let's say, a company like Mzizi Africa Homes Limited. So if again you discourage those people, we are killing our economy. So what I can encourage, let us, for example, we as Mzizi Africa Homes Limited, we are standing in the forefront as the first private developer who is doing affordable housing and delivering. Because if we deliver, we are going to restore that confidence. And again, we want also to encourage even the government. People who are doing very well, like Mzizi Africa Homes Limited, let them be given that support. Those who are doing badly, let there be rules to regulate them. Yes, people have invested. What happened to that money? If that money was channeled to maybe private use, that private investment is taken back by the government and the rightful people who had invested. Yeah, something of the sort. We can have. Yeah.
The other day I saw, housing principal secretary Charles Hinga saying that since the affordable housing project were launched in 2017, about 2.8 trillion shillings has been poured into this sector. And this has gone into a number of projects. I think he was talking about 258 projects, which are scattered around the country. Do you believe that the private sector has been very enthusiastic about the affordable housing project, and are there things that needs to be done to spur more investment in affordable housing?
Yeah, thank you very much. You'll notice that for sure the government has done its part, and now the private developer needs also to be encouraged, because affordable housing, the government is not able to complete on its own, because the demand is so high. With the statistics that was done, so that the affordable housing was made one of the big four agendas, there was already a deficit of 2 million houses as the research was being done, and every year 200,000 units are needed every year, and the government was promising to do 500,000. So you see, even if the government was to deliver the 500,000, that would only cater for maybe the deficit of 2 million to a tune of 500,000. So there will still be 1.5 million. Then to top on that, there is the annual deficit of 200,000. So you see now the encouragement to the private developers. Yes, the private developers, and we as Mrs. Africa Homes Limited being one of them, we are enthusiastic, and we have embraced the vision of the government, the Big Four agenda, one of them being housing, and we are very enthusiastic. Now what we need is the support. We work together, and for example, I'll give you an example of KMRC, which is a mortgage refinancing company, whereby people are able to be given loans at a subsidized interest rate of 7%. You find that in that cycle, the private developers are missing. So you will find the other international communities like the World Bank are giving us loans so that it can go to the affordable housing, but that there is no that complete chain. The private developer who should be encouraged is left out. So for us, let's say Mrs. Africa Homes Limited, we know there is this money, but we have not been locked in, and we have not been recommended that people can take money and come to Mrs. and invest there. So we need to complete the cycle. The government has done well by starting the initiative affordable housing. It has done well by starting such KMRC and other land policies, but now we need to lock in the private developer and encourage them, and let's have a clear policy, because we as Mrs. Africa Homes Limited can be taken as a pilot developer. This is what we have done. What can happen if we can be given an encouragement? For example, this is land. Use this land, because one of the biggest cost when it comes to affordable housing is the cost of land, and the government owns land, or the government can be able to create maybe a road somewhere. It's accessible, and that road is given to a developer. They help us do the infrastructure, water, roads, security.
And that is exactly what is happening in the affordable sector projects, right? Whereby the government is providing space as well as the necessary infrastructure, sewer lines, roads, water, and electricity, and then investors are coming up and setting up the houses.
Yeah, that is what is happening to the government projects. But now, as we have said, the government projects can do as much. There is need also to include the private sector, also give it that support. You get the government, what is doing, it is replicated, or it is passed over now to the private developers to come and support what the government is doing. It is like having a public school. The government does the public school and it does well, but at the end of the day, there are many pupils who need to go to school. So the same case, And because of that, there comes private schools and even private hospitals. And these private hospitals are given the support. You feel like if it is a hospital that needs this machine, they can be given, it can be leased to them, and what have you. So if that same, whatever the government is doing, because it has seen it is working, as you have said, if that now is passed on to private developers, let's say Mizizi Africa Homes Limited and others, so the players are many and they are supported, and there's our support. For sure, within no time, we are going to be able to achieve one of the big four agendas, which is affordable housing. And with affordable housing, it's not only about homes. There is so much more, because like the money you have said, that money is going into manufacturers, that money is going to pay people, that money is not only going to the developer's pocket. It is going to, it is touching actually on every other sphere of the economy, including food. People who are working, they need food. The farmer will be able to sell. There is need for water, construction. So real estate sector and affordable housing is not a standalone project or agenda. It is an agenda that is touching on all the rest, including security. When people have jobs, there will be no cases of insecurity. Yeah, so affordable housing is not something a standalone. This is something that is touching on all the other spheres of the economy.
And you see, the government has set up the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company, which is offering rates on interest at about 7%. This, when you compare it with the market rate, which is about 14 to 18%, depending on how you look at it. So why aren't we seeing many private developers, going to KMRC, getting loans and putting up houses outside Nairobi and Mombasa and Kisumu?
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a very good question, and that is something that we are calling upon. Even the KMRC themselves, the government, let us look in the developer. Because at the end of the day, we have the money has been given, and people have the need. People need to go get that money so they can invest it somewhere. But there's no clear line or needs that the KMRC are putting on to the private developers, that you are the private developers. We want to give you this money, or we want you to utilize this money in giving Kenyans affordable housing. These are the expectations. For you to be maybe be included, to be a developer who is maybe certified. If, for example, the KMRC can come up with a rule, a policy, and they give us as private developers, for you to qualify to get this money, you need to do A, B, C, D. And if you do not A, B, C, D, there are also consequences. So that is something very small that can be done, and we as the private developers, we are calling upon the government and the KMRC, let us have these policies. If they are there, let us get them. If they are not there, let there be put in place, so that the private developer can also get in and complete that cycle, because that cycle is not complete.
Do you have like a platform or a mechanism as private sectors in the real estate industry whereby you interact and engage with government, to see that the interests of both sides are taken care of?
Yeah, sure.
For the benefit of the country.
Yeah, thank you very much. You will appreciate that affordable housing, which was an agenda that was brought on the limelight in 2017, as you had stated, is still in its
infancy stage.
Infancy stage, exactly. It is in its infancy stage.
But now we're talking about 5 years down the line.
Yeah, it's 5 years, but you'll appreciate even the constitution. It is how many years old? You did 2010? It is almost 12 years. But most of the things that we passed there, they had to be implemented. So I think what we need to do, we need to speed up. We need to speed up some of these things, including like things like devolution. We are still wondering what is devolved, what has not been devolved, what is where. We need, once we have identified the way, a framework on the way to move forward, we need to move faster. We need to stop wasting so much time, and we have identified affordable housing is one of the ways to stabilize our economy and to be able to grow as a country to the vision 2030. So let us speed up the processes. KMRC was formed maybe a few years ago, which is something good. Land reforms are coming. Let us do a catalyst. Let's have a catalyst. Let's speed up these processes. Let's not be stuck in one place for so long, because at the end of the day, we are wasting time. And yeah, so that forum, I think it is long overdue. We need to have a forum whereby the private sector and the private sector in real estate have a forum with the government. The government comes and listens, they take notes, we see together, and we formulate the working mechanisms, and we hit the ground running. So yeah, that is something that is long overdue, and we as Mrs. Africa Homes Limited, we are calling upon every stakeholder. We join hands, we in the private sector, we join hands. Now it is time, if you are not delivering, we know there is that issue of people who are not delivering, people who ran away with money, and maybe they were trying and error. It was a trial and error, and maybe they burned their fingers in one point or another because they were learning. But now we have seen this is something that is lucrative. This is something that we need to see together so that we can tap. It is one of the biggest ways of remitting money from the outside world. I don't know whether you know that. It is one, real estate sector is one of the places which is attracting foreign investment so much.
Actually, when you look at and I want to back your arguments with the facts. When you look at the Kenya diaspora remittance report, you realize that a lot of people in the diaspora, they send their money for food, education, health, and houses.
Sure.
Okay, so it is a critical component when it comes to spurring more investment from the diaspora. But I also want to hear from you. I mean, when you look at and you mentioned these numbers, even though the numbers now are a bit higher, you talk about 2 million housing deficits in this country, but now we're talking about almost 3 million because of population growth. And every year we are still adding in. The demand is going up by about 200 to 250,000 units every year. So what do we really need to do to, number one, fill this gap and ensure that even future generations, even those who will be added into the population in the next 5-10 years to come, they wouldn't have to struggle so much, to get a house?
Yeah, thank you very much. What we need to do now is we start, when you want to get any answer, you always start from the known as you move to the unknown. And now we have, like Mrs. Africa Homes Limited, we can be taken as a project or as a pilot project, whereby this is a private developer who is doing it. With some support, they can do it even bigger. So what we need to do is accelerate on what has been begun. Yes, there have been lessons that have been learned. There are people who have failed in the past, and they are, as opposed to us demonizing them, demonizing the sector, because we can also say, let us demonize the sector. This is a sector that is full of con men, is full of quacks. And again, if you look at the other side of the coin, it is a sector that can open up our economy in such a big way. So what do we need to do? We need to look at it. What was the problem? Those people who failed, those people, you may be surprised. Maybe those people who started and failed, there's a valid reason. We can just jump into conclusion and say, these people are rogue, these people are thieves, these people. But we need to sit down, understand exactly what went wrong. Where can we help? And the good thing I will actually tell you, one thing with something like digitalization, and our banks are doing very well when it comes to issues of digitalization and money transaction, the Pesa Link, the M-Pesa, all these things. These were things that were not there. I'll give you a very practical example of a real estate that I worked for back in 2015, 2016. You find that for you to pay money to the casual laborers, you had to carry cash and go and start paying one by one. But now there has been, we are now moved from there. So you will find maybe that investor who was relying on paying people money, cash, For one, there were so many insecurity issues. Money goes and gets stolen along the way. There were so many challenges, but those are lessons that we can tap into, and we see somebody now who is starting a business, you do not need to go that route. You do not need to go and start paying your casual laborers hand. Nowadays we have such platforms which are forward thinking. So if we learn from the past, we grow with what we have, we accelerate that, we'll be somewhere.
When you look at the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics Q3 report, I mean, you see that the sector grew by 5.3% from 3.9% in the in the second quarter of 2021. Do you see the sector continuing with this growth trajectory this year?
Yeah, sure, very true. One thing that you'll appreciate is that when you're doing any business and you focus with mass, doing something in mass, you'll find that people who used to do the real estate sector, they were very few, and they were making very big margins, very big profits, and so it was only a few people who are very rich. You find somebody does a house, they sell it at 20 million, 30 million, and what have you. They make a profit from one single unit, a profit of a 200% profit. But nowadays, if you can encourage more players, more people, mass, yes, you make something like, for us, Mrs. Africa Homes Limited, we believe in doing massive houses that we are doing affordably. We get a very small margin per unit, but we do them in bulk. So by so doing, you assist many people to get that house, or they get their need, and at the same time you are able to get even more money, because from the small margin that you're getting, if you multiply that by many units, at the end of the day you are going to find you are going to make more money, and at the same time you're assisting more people. Yeah, so moving forward, there is room for making that growth to be even higher. And what we need to do is to ensure that we focus with masses.
Very well. Because in the interest of time, we have to come to the end of this program. Timothy, when you look at your crystal ball and the year 2022, with all the political noise that we are expecting, by the end of this year, what will be the shape of the real estate industry in Kenya?
Yeah, thank you very much. One thing that you'll appreciate with our Kenyan politics is that we are almost of age. We are becoming of age, because as opposed to the previous years, whereby the politics was so much driven by tribal politics, our people and our man. And nowadays we are talking about, we have seen business. How are you going to help us as a country? You'll be surprised, for example.
Discussing policies and issues.
Policies and issues, like for example, it has never happened. There is no a candidate from the largest tribe in Kenya. It is something that was unheard of. And now there is none. And people are looking at who can give us that enabling environment to do business. So we are becoming of age, and for sure it is something that even the international community has noted. We are not now so tribal, because previously what you are thinking is who is the next man next to me from my tribe. Yeah, so we are growing, and I believe even after 2022 we are going to continue growing, and for sure we are going to be taken now as a pilot project as a country by even other African countries.
George Mburu, thank you very much for finding time to be with us, and of course for sharing with us your insight.
Pleasure.
Asante sana. Well, we must come to the end of this program. Thank you very much indeed for finding time to be with us since 10 a.m. this morning, and of course now it's coming to 12. It's coming actually almost noon, and guess who is coming up next? It's Gladys Mungai with Kurunzi. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Thank you for your time. We'll see you again next time. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.